The Armenians called it the piano method in the I guess the 19th century. It's always weird. The centuries are always one number above the actual year because that's how years work in the beginning of time. But the Armenians used to have their pet donkeys or alpacas, and alpaca punch on it, baby. Cause I be shedding the bed, which is ironic that we use sheep for clothing. It's a lot of shedding and bedwetting. Girl, why you letting? But yeah, they used to use the piano method for their head to calm them down because they get highly stressed during the most fertile part of seasons. And in similar news, Joe Biden has dropped out of the presidential race, Yep. That's the connections we make here. What do I have to say about it? Absolutely nothing. Because honestly, who gives a shit? It's odd how it was like breaking news, but it didn't even feel like the biggest news of the day. It's weird because I was just riding around, and next thing you know, on the radio, I hear them talking about, this just all happening at one time. Biden has made an announcement that he has dropped out of the race. And, I'm not sure he really made that choice. I'm pretty sure someone made the statement for him. Which is weird how the first announcement he made apparently was on Twitter or X. That was apparently where the news broke. Didn't have a press conference. Didn't even make like a video. He just made a statement. And he endorsed, obviously, his vice president, which is, I'd be like, yeah. Imagine leaving office and being like, yeah, I'm not going to endorse this person. I've been selling you guys for the past 6 years to get into office. So, of course, he's going to endorse her. I don't know who's right to be in office. But here in the news, they were just talking about casually. I feel like this was any other typical presidential year. It would be like this seismic news shift. But it's on the same level of news as Hawk Tua, I wonder if Joe will be still giving the Hawk Tua to Joe. That's a weird thing to think about. I mean, I don't know if that would be good. If I was a lady and, if you're a lady in charge of, not in charge, that sounds really weird. Talk about being the first lady. If you're giving it to, even if it's your husband, to a man that's not even present, who's literally just, out of it, is that a form of, I don't even know the right term to use. Is it like when you're asleep and someone does something to you, you don't even know it? Is it necrophilia? No, because that's when you're dead. He's not dead, but pretty damn close. But yeah. Does it even count? That's a weird, but it'd be the most stress-free job ever. Like, no one's even going to be grading your performance. Sounds like a win-win. But when I get Joe's age, that's all. Like, when I retire from whatever I end up doing, when I retire, I hope my lady is like Jill, supporting me, telling me good job for saying words at a speech conference when that's my job, patting me on the back like a fourth grader. That's all we could want from a significant other. Yeah. But, I don't know. It's good times to be American. And with all this news coming down, no one really gives a shit. Like, I don't think anyone actually really believes that whoever is the president or whoever is going to take over candidates for whoever's going to be the replacing candidate to run up against Trump. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. It's not a big enough name or cachet in this short amount of time that someone can even build a resume or a campaign that's worth the shit. Like, it's going to be a landslide. It's going to be like a Taiwan landslide. But China will still acknowledge us. But, yeah. You know what's very odd to me? It's very odd how a lot of this political stuff works. Not to talk about politics. But it is a big news story. So, got to put something in the title. It's very odd that they have within a party, right? It's not like you can just, as an individual, just run a campaign to be like, regardless of what they tell you, you can't just start a campaign, start a GoFundMe, raise enough money to travel and speak in states being a random ass person, and actually run for president. You have to be nominated within your party, meaning they have like Democratic, Republican Party, and they have nominees that they pick. So it's by definition handpicked, the options that quote unquote we get to choose. So we don't really have full 100% free range of option. One, you gotta have people that want to do it, which a lot of people are just immediately when these news came out. There's these governor from Kentucky, this governor from California, this governor from here is like, nah, not doing it. I'm good. It just goes to show, and then these parties, the Democratic and Republican Party, they have their own like type of their own election to give us who we want to elect, So it's really, it really seems like a diluted, useless process to begin with. Because it's not like someone's like, you know what, I'm going to be a dark horse. And they're be like, nah, we're not putting you on the ballot. That's not how this works, It doesn't matter your fanfare. Like, you actually have to generate enough attention for your party to be like, this person has a chance to win. Because their whole ideal is not about putting necessarily the best people in position. It's about putting people out there to be elected that actually have a chance of being elected. Regardless, and just because it's associated to their party matters more than actually what they stand for within a party. Now, and the whole obsession with, and the weird stuff with all this stuff now, it's people's obsession with their identity being a Democrat or a Republican. Like Trump's response when Biden stepped down was literally the first word or two in the statement. I don't remember exactly, but it had the word Democrats. So it's a very like, not dog whistle, but it's a very like these buzzwords that trigger emotion. And it's going to bring hypersensitivity from one and validation for the other. And so as I'm listening to this radio station, and they have a correspondent or analyst for political analysts, which that's got to be one of the worst fucking jobs. It's like your job is to be on the spot in case someone drops out, and you have to know these random ass 400 people in Congress that could potentially be candidates and go through their resume and explain to people that have no fucking idea who these people are. And now we got to make a substantial decision in the next 4 months of who to pick based off information of people that probably like 98% of people I've never heard of who are about to vote. And that's what makes this whole process stupid, right? And it's become so theatrical. Now, I have a theory. I came up with this theory earlier. I think reason why Joe probably dropped, I'm saying Joe like I know the fucking guy, and like there's not 80,000 people named fucking Joe. The reason why I think he dropped out of this upcoming race is I think he knows after the attempt on Trump's ear that he did not have the ear of the country anymore. But I think after that, I think he kind of knew just the not saying the fanfare, but I think he knew that the type of strong revolution that was going to be created behind Trump is going to be bigger than ever. And he knew he was not going to be able to compete with it. Like, he just knew. Like, when you have your own party questioning if you should be running, and then after that incident, weirdly, it brings even more people closer together. You know? I think that's one of those things where I think the writing's on the wall. Sometimes there's just too much momentum on one side that losing like that would have brought not embarrassing, but it would have brought a black eye to. You're kind of fighting against someone who's on a 18-game hitting streak. You know, you're fighting against someone who's like on a all-time Kobe in 2004 Lakers tear. You know, where he dropped 81 against, was it 04? He dropped 81 against, I think maybe in 06. That 81-point game, like that month, that year, he was just on a tear that was unprecedented. And there's almost too much momentum. Sometimes when your opponent has too much momentum, regardless of your standing in things, your confidence in yourself, there is just a momentum that's behind them that you just cannot stop. And I think that played a big factor on top of the obvious factors. So, I don't know. Yeah. So there's your politics for the year. Not that I really said anything political, but, you know, that's just my, not even theory, but that's just my point of view. There you go. Point of view stands for pussy on the vulva. Of course I had to ruin a well put together conversation. This is why I think it never put me on cable television. Imagine Rachel Maddow sitting there talking to me about, you know, so what do you believe about, you know, media and stuff? Is like, I don't know, but I see there's a medium between your sexuality and, you know, your morals. She does look like a little boy, though. She looks like someone that plays the clarinet, but for some reason can't play the clarinet. She also looks like Squidward with glasses. Everyone wants to look like a girl. You know, everyone wants to look like a guy, but not actually have to go through the ramifications of being a guy. It's crazy how that works. But yeah, it's always brighter on the other side until you're on the other side and realize, man, this shit's burning like a motherfucker. And that's why I'm very pale. But yeah, welcome to episode 288 of the Off Your podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Most important, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to suck some titties. Yeah. Recording this on, I can't remember if it's June or July. I think it's July. Yeah, July 21st, 22nd. Who fucking knows? It's all just one big, it feels like it's about time for a solstice. July 21st at 11:47 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, it's about time for a, what is it called? When they move the clock back or forward, or a solstice where it's winter, it's summer, it's spring. Roll. You know, I'm all about supporting the local businesses in a way. And you know what I appreciate about some local businesses when it's an obvious just like copy and paste of a bigger corporation business. So there's a nearby location to where I live. I don't want to give out the location because it wasn't a good or a bad experience. And I don't want to give out my location. Even though they'll probably figure out and they'll send me. But let's just say there is this. It looked like a corporation. But it was nearby. I'm like, you know what? It's a fresh Mexican grill place. From the outside, you could tell, oh, this is like a Moes. It is like a Chipotle. It looked closer to a Moes than a Chipotle. So I go in, and it looks exactly that. Except it's literally one guy behind the counter, no one there, and it's about like 1 in the afternoon. So on a Sunday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you'd be like, I feel like it'd be a little bit more business. But I go up there, and it's exactly what you think. They got all the toppings, chicken, beef, steak, barbacoa. They got the small-ass veggie aisle, which they had less veggies than Subway. I'm looking. I'm like, the quality didn't look too bad. So I'm at like, hey, I've never been here before. I'm just kind of figuring. And immediately he's like, it's just like Chipotle. I'm looking at it. I'm like, just like Chipotle, Okay. A little flattering of your beak, huh? Not the shit on him. But you know what I did appreciate? I appreciate the man's like, you know what? I'm not even going to try to... like sometimes you go to fast food places, you go to restaurants, and I don't do this. And it's always weird when other people are like, oh, well, you go to McDonald's and be like, hey, so I went to Wendy's earlier. Is this like this? Or, hey, actually, I tried this $5 meal dough from Burger King, do y'all think yours is better? Like the fucking person take your order gives a fuck if you think the chicken fries is good compared to their non-chicken fries. That's always weird. Like, you really think like people give a fuck about what you think about the Burger King a mile and a half away is compared to their place? No, the employees don't really give a fuck. But then there's other places that are like, oh, don't. It's like, oh no, we're better than them. It's like, oh, they ain't shit, And this guy was just like, you know what? Nope, there's no weird trying to be just like them. Like, not any different, not anymore. And the price was basically essentially similar. Wasn't too bad or anything. So I'll order. I get it. I couldn't, this dude seemed like he was like the owner, but not really the owner. He literally seemed like one of 4 people that actually work at this location because literally he was the only guy there. And the schedule of one person for a whole restaurant is insane. So that tells me whoever run this place either doesn't want to pay anyone and he is the owner, or he's just literally like, he's like, all right, waste my money on this place. I'm not wasting money on fucking labor. But it looked pretty clean, I order it, the food's looking a little dry. It's looking a little skimpy on the scoops. But you know what? I'm going to give the guy a try. Like maybe And then this man starts wrapping the burrito. And that's where I'm like, uh-oh. Yep. That is, now I see the problem. This man put a decent amount, of stuff in it. Now all the food looked dry, and hate to spoil it, it was. No matter how much I put 2 different sauces and queso dip, that shit was so dry as fuck. I don't know how. This man wrapped the burrito, and I'm not expecting a long burrito, but I absolutely hate when it is compact and like a little square and it's condensed. I know it's still the same amount of food in it, But it's just like, I didn't pay $10 for 5 inches, you know. Imagine if us guys can do that. $10 for 5 inches. 12 for 6. Just charge $2 an inch, you know. I think maybe that's what they should do. I think maybe Chipotle and these burrito places should start charging you by the weight of it. So you people that want to bitch about how much food you get, have them weigh it. So you get what you pay for. I think that's the only way it could be fair, right? You pay X amount per pound, and then, you know, I think that's probably the fairest way. They put on a scale. And I do have a theory about these scales. Like at these Publixes, at these delis, at these restaurants that do weigh by the pound, I do think the scales are false. Like, I'm pretty sure if you put my ass on that scale, it would be probably 10 pounds heavier than how much I weigh. Not that a scale that should probably only go up to 20 pounds is going to hold a close to 200 pound male. But I'm just saying, you know, they need to check, like, they need to have outside forces to calibrate these scales. Look at me going off on about fucking fictional scale at a burrito place that doesn't exist. But point is I think, one, to solve these Chipotle issues that people are having, oh, they're not giving me enough food, blah blah, inflation, have it be where you just pay for ounces or pound or whatever they want to do the scales at, and here's how much per pound. This is what you pay. Because when you go to a deli, whatever, you like, hey, you know, just I want about this much, you pay, and then you pay per pound. If it's an extra 40 cents than you thought, or extra dollar or less than, then it's fine. It's exact of what you actually get. I think that's the only fair way to go about it, you know? Because even though the amount of food in this thing felt okay, it did not feel because of the way they wrap this shit, you know? It feels like the type of place where, like, when they open local pizza shops, like brand new pizza places that aren't corporations, you know, it'll be like a local pizza shop of a guy that has like a restaurant, they run a pizza thing or whatever. What they'll typically do is they will recruit people that work at other pizza chains, recruit them to here, and it's like you kind of get out of the corporation feel. Maybe it's a pay raise. Maybe you can have more freedom, show some difference, a new environment, new restaurant, blah, blah, blah. So there's kind of an appeal of that. I think when they get this, I think for these burrito places, though, typically in my experience, because I have gone to a few other burrito Mexican quote-unquote grill places, Southwest grill places, that are basically Chipotle and Moes knockoffs, and each one of them are very dry and underwhelming. From the price standpoint, from just how efficient they are. They're not very exquisitely trained. They're nice people. But my experience of these is I feel like it's like in the MLB when they add a new team, so they have to have an expansion drafts. And the expansion team is like basically a G League team. And they basically get the people that work at these knockoff burrito places. It's basically like the Tampa Bay Devil Rays of like 1994, you know? Or when they're winning like 50 fucking games, you know? Not the shame on the people, but it seems like they try to, instead of just like hiring people and training people, you know, to make your new business successful or try to make your place stand out, you just hire people that have already done the job and they don't have the same passion for this. So that you just have someone that knows what they're doing because they know what they're doing, but you're not really passionate about it. And that's why these corporations will always overcome these smaller businesses that want to do basically the same thing, but they don't do anything to stand out. Like, I don't want to go to another burrito place Or any type of Chinese place where I think the thing people make a mistake, people think we want cheaper alternatives of what's already there. But really, if I'm going to come to you for a burrito, I already have a good relationship with these other burrito places. I want something different, you know? And I think too many of these places, they just want to be the same. That's the thing, you know? Like, you know, if I, like, let's say I'm a married man. You know, I'm going to give a married man example. This is a very common married man example, at least from what I hear. Why do I want to look at another, like, if I'm just out on the beach, let's say I'm on a trip with the boys, you know? Let's say we go to, what do we call it? Naples, Florida, you know? I don't know why Naples. You know, let's pick a different place. Florida's a little too close to home. Let's say we go to Arizona, you know, go to Tempe, you know, it's a nice college town. Now, let's say I see a girl of age, college girl of age, that reminds me of how my wife looked like when she was in college. Why would I want to go completely somewhere else, inconvenient, to have the same thing that I have at home, but just a watered down, less experienced, more immature version? And probably can't wrap a burrito either, but my wife can wrap a burrito. So you know what? I'm taking a step down. When I could just, but now, let's say go a couple blocks over to a night bar, a little night shack. Maybe to the hybrid nightclub where on Friday nights after 9, there's a secret wink wink deal that is stripper night, even though it's illegal because you don't have a license to have naked women in your club. Not saying I know those establishments exist, but I'm just saying, who baby, they exist. Now, what if I happen to meet a girl named Lacey, right? Completely different from my wife of 13 years. But completely different. Spark of energy. Something different about her, you know? Now, that's more intriguing than the watered down college girl that's just a reminder of what a lesser version of what my current wife is, but there's something completely different right there. You know, you see what I'm saying? That's what this is like. There's a comfort in the corporations. There's a comfort with the wife. The smaller businesses, like this college girl, that's a copycat of my wife, or a younger version of my wife, that's not appealing to me. Is a less experienced version of a woman who can't wrap a burrito like this guy couldn't, you know? I'm just assuming that all girls that are younger can't cook or can't wrap a burrito. But what I'm telling you is, go to a Burger King and get a wrap. It speaks for itself, you know? But no, in all seriousness, the point I'm trying to make here is I was always, you know, something like tells you, like, when you pass by something every day, some of my intuition says, like, yeah, you know, it looks interesting, but you know what? You know, you just look at a place and it looks dry. From the outside, you know nothing about it. You just read the sign, you read the top place, and you're like, why do I feel like this is just a drier version of Chipotle and a drier version of Moes? Like, Moes is just like nothing but sauce and cheese. It barely even feels like Mexican. Chipotle feels like a more boutique version of it. In this place, it just looked dry, right? And when something looks dry, trust your instincts, you know. Look, man, I'm a man of dryness, you know. I can sometimes have dry humor. Sometimes my sack gets dry. Sometimes, you know, my skin just absorbs dry heat different than most. But one thing that's undeniable is my sniff test for dry food is at all-time high for a lot of reasons, you know. When you cook at home and you have legitimate olive oil, good olive oil, you have legitimate seasonings, you have legitimate gucky chicken, you know. When you have a legitimate fridge of food freezer, and you go these places and they serve you this dry ass kibbles and bits in a burrito. Yeah, I have a fucking problem with it. You know? This is where supporting localish business that look like corporations goes wrong. Because there was a bunch of establishments nearby that I could have went by, know what I'm getting. And I think that is where these bigger companies we have built the comfort in, and people hate big corporations. But the thing is like, at least with these places, we know what we're getting because they have a system in place. They have a expectation in place because they want where someone in Arkansas can travel to Vermont and eat at a Buffalo Wild Wings, and if they get these Asian zing hot wings, they're going to taste the same here as there, you know, relatively. So I think that's just and that's where like my instincts of wanting to try different things goes awry, because every time I do, I get slightly disappointed. Because trying different places of things that you have interest and familiarity in, when it ends up like this, it makes you more apprehensive to veer out. And my idea of branching out is, hey, instead of going to Moes, let's go to Dos Bros. I just shouted the place out. No shade, but hey, that steak was dry. Real dry. That clip is still an all-time clip. But yeah, I guess the point of all that is if you just wrap my burrito a little bit more efficiently, probably would have gave you a pass. You know? But yeah. But, you know, hope it all gets better. I don't want to be a shamer, because the food wasn't terrible. It was just, like, I would have rathered it be terrible. I think that's, like, I would rather something be bad or terrible. Because at least, like, you try to go for it. But it was, like, so bland, conservative, in a way, that it just kind of made it like, ugh. Yeah, but anyways, moving on to important things. Getting off my soapbox. Which I hate that term, soapbox. Like, what is it? Like, who made the term get off your soapbox? Like, one, is it because, like, if you're in the shower and let's say you get soap that comes out of a box, like, first of all, you're not keeping the box in the shower. So even if you're, like, in sadness, depression, thinking about, you know, hurting yourself, there's not even a box from the soap that you're going to lean on. Like, no one keeps boxes of soap in the shower. And maybe they're talking about soap operas. I don't even really get that point either. Like, whoever, like, it's weird, these soap operas, they're almost like manually manufactured, where they have been force-fed to us, where next thing you know, we have 38 seasons of fucking General Hospitals, or 48 seasons of Days of Our Lives. Like, it just seems unnecessary. Like, who's actually sitting around writing these shows with this over dramatic music for everything? Like, it'll literally be a fucking dude coming home from work, and then the wife's like, Cheryl, she seems to not be talking to me anymore. It's like, but honey, she's having menopause. It's like everything is just so dramatic. It's always someone dying. That's why they're having these endless seasons. People are dying. They're rehiring. It's really just a tactic to not pay these actors. You know? Like, I'm pretty sure if you were to have... Who has made the most money off of soap opera checks? It's probably not that high because they kill these motherfuckers as quick as possible. And those hours are apparently grueling. Do you ever watch Friends? So, yeah, it just seems, get off my soapbox, you know. It's like, well, if soap got in your eye, and ain't the tangle-free kid soap in the eye thing where it's tear-free, which, by the way, those tear-free soap in the eyes, those shit so made you cry. That shit didn't feel good. Just go ahead and squirt that shit in your eye like it's some eye drops. You tell me how good it fucking feels, you know. I mean, it's better than getting vinegar in your eye. But yeah. Oh, fish and chips. The British are just the most blandest motherfuckers ever. I'm sorry. I don't know who needs to say it. Like, they just, like, I don't want to sit here and stereotype. But I'm not around British people often. I honestly can't remember the last time I've been around a person that spoke British. I don't even know if that's the right term. But they had a British accent. Because they speak English just with an accent. It's weird. They're speaking British. It's like, you mean English? Come here, you British bloke. You broke bloke. Daddy choke. It's a hoax. And your bush is bigger than Bigfoot. More like, let me Sasquatch them. Beans and toast. But yeah, the British, you know, they're just bland. Like, everything about them is just uninteresting and bland. I'm sorry. Like, I don't understand the fascination with Americans wanting to know, wanting to get into, like, no one actually, not many people live in America for an extended period of time and like, let me move to Britain. Like, actually move there. Not talking about visiting or going living in an Airbnb for 7 months or renting half a flat with 7 other people. And then, you know, one gets hired for fashion department. The other kills himself. And the other is still trying to make it. And then they complain about American culture. And then here they are doing the same thing in a British culture. You know? Did you ever read the book Coraline? But yeah, no, these damn Brits. They're not really around here, you know? I'm sure they're nice people. But, you know, your taste buds, what you eat, the type of food you eat tells me a lot about you. Like, you know what? I'm gonna hold off from that. You know, I feel like I'm going too deep on people. I'm criticizing too much. I don't want to criticize cultures. I don't want to criticize what people do. Or what they do in their free time. What they voluntarily choose to eat, you know? Because you know what? Us in America, we do this, you know. We grow up eating fucking fruit gushers and honey bunches of oats for some reason. Like, for some reason, some asswipe decided to make cornflakes to prevent masturbation. This man's like, hey, if we make bland-ass food, it'll distract these kids from masturbating. You're like, will it? I think it's more than a bowl of milk and cereal that's going to stop someone from doing that. Our hyper-sexualized world. You know, but I don't know, you know, speaking of, you know, British, like, no one's ever typed in British porn. You know, Jesus, going off the rails. Like, I've never wanted to hear a British girl moan or, you know, just get, you know, rumped, you know. I'm never like, oh, let me watch them fuck over a UK balcony. It seems very bland and pale. It just seems like it would be moody and cloudy. And that's not what I'm looking for when I want to watch two people enjoy themselves. It just seems like British sex would be depressing. Oh, gosh. I promise you, I don't consume that stuff. I'm just making assumptions. Wink, wink. I really don't, though. I don't have enough data. But, yeah. Yep, this will never be monetized, I swear. But I will say, I don't see many British ladies getting crazy surgeries. I will give them that, I don't see them getting crazy enhancements. They appreciate their natural pale bodies. I appreciate that. I know I'm painting a broad brush, but, the broads have to get a brush of something. No, but in all seriousness, I really don't get, I just don't understand. Like, I've never been intrigued by British customs or British food or British culture. And maybe it's something, that's a problem with me, I acknowledge that. I don't know what customs or culture I'd be that intrigued to really, want to live in or visit for an extent. Like, I think it'd be cool to visit these places, but I feel like it just seems like from afar, like the UK and stuff like that, it seems like it would be the most boring, uninteresting aspects. Like, not that there's not stuff to see or stuff to do, but outside of the tourist attractions that people go there for, what about the place is really that interesting, And you could probably say that about America. But there's a lot of things that aren't really tourist attractions that make America appealing, You got to think about the everyday life aspect of it. I don't know. And I guess it'll be fair to say I'll never get a live show done in Great Britain because I'll probably get jumped by the Furies and completely bombarded and wrecked. Yep. But I'll bring the boys because I'll have enough money then where I'll pay the boys some nice coin. Not that Jason Derulo coin, but some real coin. I hate that term when people say, oh, I got some coin. It's like, just say you have fucking money. Like, apparently, what's odd about money is that just because of presentation, like, there's actual. So I saw a video where someone went to the bank and they withdrew like $1,000, right? Now they withdrew like 10 $100 different stack of ones, basically, something like that. So they had the stack with this, the little paper seal they put to keep it together. And this guy happened to get, I guess, quote unquote, lucky, where all the serial numbers on the dollars were in consecutive order. Like, it would be like 6500001, 6500002, and like the next bill, so on and so forth. And he got a rare one that's rare within itself, but then he had one where all the serial numbers, except for the first two, it was like 65 or 56000000 across the board, which obviously is rare for a lot of reasons, because it's the only one of that kind. But that $100 stack that he had, like, he had 100 $1 bills, right, in this one stack. Now, that $100 bills, an equivalent to currency, is what? $100, right? But because of the rareness or the optics of it, the serial number aspect, even though if you were to spend $1 at any place, it would just be $1. That whole $100 was actually worth close to $400 to $500 because of it's like a collectible. Which, so this is how blinded we've kind of become as people. Is that something becomes, we pay literally 5 times the amount, the value of what something literally gives in return, just because someone has convinced you that having some serial numbers makes it really fucking cool. Because guess what? If you were to go anywhere, have that $100, you'd be like, hey, but this is worth $400 to $500 on the market. They'd be like, that's great. Give it to us and we'll put it on the market. I'm not giving you an extra PS6 because because it's valued more. If you want to do that shit, go to a pawn shop or, go to some secret exchange auction. That's the crazy part. We've actually convinced people. And I think this is where memorabilia and just collectibles and stuff. Like, there are collectibles that are like, because of the uniqueness and stuff, I get it. Like baseball cards, you got anime stuff, you got like movie memorabilia, like Star Wars franchise and stuff like that. Like, I get it. Like, that stuff is different because it really is symbolic. It really is. This thing is like the value of whatever that person gives a fuck about. But when it comes to actual money, like, unless it's a rareness of a coin that's like, it's so rare that the possession of it means something more. Like, literally these dollar bills, literally in the currency exchange, it means $1. And we're literally spending more currency of money that we're in debt for to spend 5 times X on money that the value of that money is 5 times less than what we're paying for. And that's why we've created this cycle of fucking debt. And I was actually talking to a friend, and he's a younger guy, He's probably like in his young 20s, let's just say. And, he's pretty responsible with money. He doesn't, he lives at home and stuff like that. He goes to school, getting a degree, all that good stuff. And I was just surprised. Like, he was talking to me. We were talking about, like, credit cards and stuff. He's like, yeah, I learned the hard way. And I was like, wait, you live at home? He's like, yeah, I'm really just trying to eat away at this debt, before, me and the partner, potentially move in together. Because he was asking me advice of what it's like, potentially living with a girl, was it like living with a significant other? I was like, well, if you have money, it's pretty easy. If you don't, you better hope she's sleazy. I'm kidding. No, but, being honest about it, like, it could be difficult here, hard there, but, it could be very rewarding. It teaches you a lot about yourself. I was actually giving the breakdown of the struggles you'll probably go through, He's like, yeah, really just trying to get out of this. I was like, he said, yeah, he's like, I'm really, my whole focus right now is paying off my credit card debt. And I'm like, credit card debt? How do you have I asked the man straight up, like, how do you have credit card debt? Respectfully, you live at home. You don't have any bills outside of your personal stuff. And you have a full-time job making pretty decent amount for someone that's living at home. And he's like, just like, it's like most people. It's like, it starts with, this is why when people would always tell me this shit, I would always look at them and be like, yeah, or you could just pay it the first time and not have to worry about going through this extra process of paying credit card to build a credit score. But, that's nor here nor there. He's like, first I would just use it for gas just so I could pay it off. And then I started using it for groceries. And then, I started using it to buy gifts for my girlfriend. Then I started using it for, just you start using it for more than the original intention. Next thing you know, you're putting more on a credit card thinking you can spend more money than you actually have because it disconnects you from reality of how much money you actually have. And I'm not going to say the amount. I mean, it's not the craziest amount I've ever heard, but, it's unnecessary amount to be at if there was no emergencies to be at it, I was like, yeah, that's how they get you, man. That's why I'm 28 and I've never had a credit card. And people say that shit like, oh, well, you're just missing out on free money. And it's like, yeah. And you're going to be paying a lot more money over your lifetime having that credit card than you are going to get out of it. Because if you were getting more money out of it than the bank was, they wouldn't be letting you get free, quote unquote, money out of it. Like, no one does a transaction. These banks don't do transactions. These banks don't do anything for the betterment of just giving you more money without them getting some in return. One, they're increasing your spending habits. Number one, really, like, the bank's job is to have all the money funnel into their bank so they continue using it to give out loans, to accrue more money, so they give out more loans that have bigger paydays, that have interest built in, so they make more money. Like, it's just a cycle of charging interest, making money, having easier ways to track your money. That's all the banks are, on the simplest level. Because otherwise, how are they making money? Just taking your direct deposit, holding your money just for only you to use. That's not how they make money. That's not, like, it literally would be zero profit. They'd be losing money by operation costs, by security costs, by labor of having clerks, personal finance people there. Like, what would they be making money for? It's not these banks are private services. Most of these banks are private. They're not public. So, getting off my soapbox, even though soap shouldn't come in a box, I guess it's just my all natural coming out, because I'm a strong white man. I'm kidding. Well, kind of. But, and that was the thing, is like, man, like, and that's the thing, you're taught to, that's the thing about finance, you're taught, like, oh, just use it for little things and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, okay. Because all the money that you'll get then, it's going to come up to you. Then you have to start living in this secluded, this frugal mindset. You have to start living in a very, like, working for someone else mindset. And you have nothing for yourself. The more in debt you are, the more you have to work to give back more. It just is what it is. It's the cycle of being in debt. All these avenues are just ways to get you in the debt so they can have mercy over you. When you truly, either one, even here's the thing, right? It's more than just having money, financial freedom. That stuff is great. Honestly, you don't really need money to not have to do all this shit. You just actually generally have to not really care to do it. Like, that's the biggest thing, is not fearing the avenue of what if I don't go in the debt. Like, sometimes people got to do what they got to do. I don't shame people for, hey, it's better to go $3,000 in debt to fix a car and then you have a car and you can figure it out later than it is not having that option. So, for those, it makes sense. But with the everyday use type of stuff, you got to be very careful about it. But yeah, there's your financial advisor 101 I feel like I do this like every 4 episodes. I give unnecessary financial advice I'm not qualified to speak for, but I have enough experience where I'm like, hey, this seems to be a common thing that everyone that does this, that doesn't work out well in the end. So I don't know. Whew. Yeah. On a roll, baby. And just so you know, be having a very special episode coming soon. Not going to spoil it. But let's just say it's something that's never been done and often beat history. But yeah, here's your cliffhanger for the day. No Sylvester Stallone. No roids. But if I did, hoo. I wouldn't be dumb enough to climb up a mountain and fall 500 feet. But yeah, I guess the moral of today's pod is stay away from credit cards. Be careful about trying different local businesses or copycats of bigger businesses, because the bigger business is probably always going to be better than the smaller business because they just have more resources and more people to keep the food fresh. And secondly, and thirdly, I guess I should say thirdly, British people, step your game up. So yeah, croquet. All right, that was episode 288 of the Off Beat Podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Most important, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to suck some titties. Yeet, yeet. All right, have a great day, morning, night, evening, whatever side of the hemisphere you are on Earth. Just imagine this podcast like on Christmas Eve night when you're watching the Santa Claus tracker that seems real. It'll be like, oh, he's in Hong Kong right now. Right now, he's going to be here at estimated 2:28 a.m. Oh, my God. And then your parents will be like, get your ass in bed at 2 a.m. And you'll be like, oh, they must know too. And they're like, yep, we know exactly where he's at. We meet him halfway. And then he robs us. But yeah. All right. Have a good day. Oh, Jesus. I got a shit.